Welcome to Beyond the Bottom Line.
Good afternoon and welcome to Beyond the Bottom Line. Today we're welcoming Dr. Mohamed Soliman. He's a physician with a real interest in psychiatry and a researcher and life coach. We're going to talk about the mind-body connection and particularly how this helps with decision-making, gaining clarity and transforming our lives. So welcome to the show, Dr. Soliman. It's a real pleasure to have you with us.
It is my pleasure, Anna. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. So I'm very interested in the mind-body connection. You obviously are an expert in all of that. We hear a lot about it, but it's not clear to non-medical people always how this really works. So as a physician and a researcher, can you give us some examples of this? And also what can be the positives and the negatives that we can gain from it?
Excellent point. And I'll start first by defining what is mindset. So mindset is a set of beliefs that we have. It's a way of us trying to understand the complex reality we live in. And so it is something that is built up throughout our lives. And there are four sources where we get the components, if you wish, of our mindset. The first one is the obvious, is the upbringing.
Yeah.
The family has huge impact on the mindset. The second one is right outside the family, which is the culture you grew up in. So you are in South Wales. People there are certain norms that are different, say, from London.
Yeah, exactly.
And there will be, I would assume, certain level of courtesy, certain level of family-centeredness, things like that would be part of the mindset. Not to say anything bad about London, but with any big city, this is not, I lived in Manhattan, I lived in Toronto for more than 5 years in each, and it is different from where I live now in Ann Arbor. The third component is the peers. So this is a big component, especially around teenage time, and can be also very influential on our mindsets. And the last one are the influencers who you do not interact with directly. So this would be the books we read, and you see this lots of time. People say, oh, this book changed my life.
Yeah.
And that's a big component of mindset. Or now we live in social media time. Who you listen to and what you watch is a big component of mindset, which was not prior, say, to the internet era or the huge social media era. So those are four components that define mindset. Mm-hmm. With this in mind, your question is, how can we use it to something positive and something negative in decision making? Is that correct?
Yep. And also the mind-body connection.
Of it. Yes. Yeah. How is it? So let's start with the mind. Mind-body connection. Is there a mind-body connection? And the answer is yes. It is not similar, like if we think Kant. Kant has the dualism of the mind and the body. That was not truly accurate in certain ways because I'll give you a simple example that happens in daily life. When people get so anxious about an interview or a job or anything in life, they get the stomach knot.
Yeah, butterflies.
Or butterflies.
Yeah.
And you think, like, what has this to do with that? And guess what? 90% of the serotonin, the neurotransmitter serotonin, is in the gut.
Yeah.
90. It is not in the brain. And there is a whole enteric system, neuronal system, in the gut to a degree that some people will call it the second brain.
Yes.
And it doesn't use the same neurotransmitters we have in the brain. It's used similar ones, but not to the same concentrations.
Yeah.
And it just happened that the serotonin is one of the major neurotransmitters in the gut system. You will see this also in tension headache.
Yeah.
When people get stressed out for a long period of time, the headache becomes chronic, and it's not just due to something biological. There is something building up from the stress that goes to the brain. You will see this in diarrhea.
Yeah.
Some people, when they get so stressed, they start getting diarrhea.
Yeah.
You will see hyperacidity. It's mostly not the case, but in some cases, stress can increase the hyperacidity of the stomach. So the examples are so many where we can, if I use psychoanalytic terms, internalization of our feelings, and that will manifest in something biological.
Yeah. So, I mean, I relate to that because when I get stressed, luckily I don't have the headache problem, but I definitely have the stomach, but I just cannot digest things. I have chronic indigestion with that and stomach pains. I don't get the diarrhea, thank goodness. I get really feeling sick and nausea and blah. So I understand totally that. But how can we use this link? Because it's a real link. It seems to me it's a link between our emotional state and our physical state and our energy. So how can we use that to try and get the positives and channel it in the right way? Because every negative has a positive.
Absolutely.
I hope I'm crossing my fingers.
Yes, that is very Hegelian way of thinking, is the thesis and the antithesis, and then you get something of the synthesis. And on this point, just before I answer this question, to clarify, stress, for example, is not always bad. In fact, if we don't have a bit of a stress, we will not get things done. We will not finish things on time. It just after you, what we call eustress, EU, which is true stress, this is the peak of performance.
Yeah.
So enough anxiety and enough stress to push us to that. It just when it gets too much, and then we go on the other side of the curve, then we start to get all the negative impact. So absolutely, every positive will have an impact. Sometimes even the strength is the weakness.
Yes.
If I will use Hegelian dialectic ways of thinking, how can you use this to your advantage? Many ways. So I'll tell you an experiment that was done by Alia Crum at Stanford, and that was done a few years ago to show you how it can affect metabolism and how our mindset can affect something like weight loss or digestion. So she divided her participants into two groups. The first group had milkshake in a bottle, and it says low fat. Yeah, exactly. But it says low fat, no sugar, 140 calories.
Yeah.
Okay. The other group, which is the experiment, had a bottle of the same size, and it says enough sugars, tastes good, something like that, and then 620 calories. But guess what? Both of them have the exact same milkshake of 300 calories.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And then they drank it, and then they measure a hormone, level of hormone called ghrelin. Ghrelin. The ghrelin hormone is the hunger hormone.
Yeah.
So when you are hungry, ghrelin goes really up, and then you are satiated, the ghrelin goes down.
Yeah.
So you would expect the ghrelin levels to be the same in both groups, since they both had 300 calorie of milkshake. Surprisingly, it wasn't the case.
Oh, really?
The group that got the bottles of the 620 calories ended up with ghrelin levels 3 times lower than the control group, which means basically the body is saying enough, I had enough calories, because that's the hunger, right? So now we are going down. So it says I'm really enough. I don't need more.
Yeah.
And that was exact same thing.
Oh,
And
really?
that shows you, does this mean mindset is everything? No.
Yeah. But
Does this mean, but it's contributing. Does this mean people with, say, morbid obesity, they do not need to walk or exercise or anything? No. But it plays a major role in even how you approach these activities. If you are walking and you are mindful of your walking and you are paying attention to the muscles, to the way you walk, your benefits will be, or most probably will be higher than people who just almost pushing themselves like, and then even for continuity, the group that will have a good mindset, like I'm doing this, I'm in the moment, they will be more motivated to continue. The other ones will be less motivated, and you will see higher dropout. So this is one example where biologically we see differences. How can we use it to our advantage in daily life? I think the most important is the awareness of the mindset. Because we're not aware of what we think. Most of us are not even aware of the negative or the positive thoughts that come to our mind. The great work from the two linguistics, the names escape my mind, Sapir, Whorf-Sapir hypothesis. If you are familiar with it. And I think it was in the 1920s that showed that the language can affect the thoughts. So the way we speak to ourselves can also frame how we think. And so the awareness of what we do and how we can catch awareness. For now, people don't like to write down things because we're always on the go. Type them on the phone. I would say, because we are attached to our phones, or even record them. Record them in your phone and have it a stream of consciousness. And this is a moment of honesty. Like, leave the phone open as if you are recording something on the side, and just speak your mind. And then see what's going on, see what's in your mind, and see your language. And then try to change it in a way that does not also come across as fake. So it is not, my business will be the best ever. These extremes tend to actually to fire back. It's changing it in even slightly to be more accepting. And then what can you do about it? It's like, okay, I had this fight with my manager. My manager is, say, terrible. And there are terrible managers. That is true. You're not saying, oh, no, but my manager meant this. Like, no, there are terrible managers. Having said that, I need the job. I need to pay my bills. And I see James knows how to get along with this manager, or at least don't get in their way. What does James do that I can do to navigate this situation? I can apply also to other jobs now. And just the fact that this mindset, you have escape or an exit door, makes a huge difference, because otherwise you feel trapped. And this is one of the things that we use in the cognitive behavioral therapy techniques, the ABCD method, where you have A as an event, something that happened, or the action that happened, A, and then you have the B, the behavior, is how you behaved, and then the C, the consequences, and then the D, the disputation. You try to be in disputation, I would say, as honest as possible, because some people feel it is fake. I'm faking this disputation. No, but think of solutions. And that is a powerful thing for changing the mindset, and this based on the great work of Aaron Beck, the founder of cognitive behavioral therapy, who unfortunately passed away this year at the age of 100. And all this work now, we are seeing a lot of randomized controlled trials, how it can affect an anxiety, depression, and mindset overall. So that's awareness, I'd say, number one. But before I keep moving on, I'd like to give you a chance to interrupt me because I can go on.
But it's really interesting. But because most of my audience are corporate and professional people, I'm sure they'd be very interested to know, can you use this, or obviously you can, how can you best use this to help with decision making and maybe help with gaining clarity on strategies and projects and things like that? Because I'm sure if you can master how you channel your mindset and your mind-body connection, it's got to make life easier. Like you've just given the example, if you've got a manager that you've got a problem with, but one of your colleagues manages it better. Mm-hmm. How can we use this and adapt this for decision making and clarity on strategies?
Tell you a small secret. Take a deep breath.
Yeah.
Before you make a decision. Surprisingly, as simple as it is, it is powerful, because the first reaction in making a decision is these fractions of second.
Yeah.
So if you just want to take, you are going to fire someone or hire someone or take a strategy, literally just do 4 and then 8.
It just relaxes you. It removes some of the tension.
Exactly. And that gives you much more clarity.
Yeah.
And it lowers your adrenaline.
Yeah.
And it gives you a way to at least take a step back. And it is simple, but extremely powerful. And it has effects on neurons, which no need to go into it. But it is, thank the Lord that our breathing is not under our control, because otherwise we'll all be dead, because we're so much mindless that sometimes you literally forget to breathe. I'm not sure if this ever happened to you, but sometimes I will catch myself doing as if I wasn't breathing. And this moment of taking one breath, 4 in and 8 out. Now we have masks, so you can hide it. You don't need to show it to everyone. If you don't want to show it to people, you can push it out from your nose. Important is to have it diaphragmatic or breathing, which is you push the air. They call it belly breathing. Obviously, it's not the belly. Just to be clear, it is the lower lungs. Yeah. And so when the lower lungs are filled, they push the diaphragm. But this is why we call it belly breathing. This is a very powerful way, especially if you're suspecting this decision might have elements of bias.
Yes.
Or might have major consequences in meetings that run for an hour, and half of the time you have no idea why we're even meeting. This happened many, many times. Take a deep breath to orient yourself. Like, what are we doing? Like, really, why are we here? And these things, it helps you really come back to the moment.
Yeah.
So that's a simple trick. I know there are other tricks that I'll try to be practical too. The other tricks that will need some writing.
Yeah.
But it seems, at least from the population I have seen, it's not necessarily something that people would invest in doing.
Yeah. But now the breathing sounds brilliant, because you can do it in any situation. And if it just gives you that tiny little break to sort of catch your thoughts and calm yourself down, then you can refocus and you can proceed in a different way. I think that's great. I've got another question, which is more about leadership, because leadership, being a leader is a challenge. Leadership is a challenge, but it can completely change the whole workplace environment. So if someone can use, or if a leader can take mindset and can take the mind-body connection, how could they use this for the way they react, but also the way they support their teams, so that they can help everybody grow, help everybody advance? I mean, I'm very into holistic lifestyle, holistic leadership, and that you think of everything and not just, money and results, but you think of the people around you. So it seems to me this mind-body connection and using mindset could really change the work environment. So because you being an expert, being a physician, being into psychiatry, you know how we can do it the right way instead of the wrong way. So what would you advise on that?
I'll tell you another secret. They're all simple. Start with yourself. Take care of yourself first, because we all as adults, we know hypocrisy. We can see it. If a leader tell you, oh, I would like you to practice the yoga and the meditation, but this is after you finish your 18 hours of work, then you can go and do this. Or they are stressed out themselves. They would not buy into, no one will buy into that. So the secret is take care of yourself first as a leader. And when people see that you are meditating, they will meditate. When they see the whole company in lunch hour, they are meeting not to discuss necessarily agendas. It can be about their life, can be about anything. They will do the same. They will have more psychological safety. The first few sessions are usually very awkward. I just tell people this up front. Don't expect people to show up in a lunch and they're thinking, oh, it is going to be all roses. Everyone will be suspicious as, oh, is this the way they're going to collect info about our lives? And you think of it from an employee perspective too. And then they will see if you open up, they will open up. And you open up about something that is true. Like, listen, guys, today I had a misunderstanding with one of the clients or with a family member, and you will notice that my mood is not the best. Just my apologies for this. And then we go around the table. The two ways to make this successful are A, give people plenty of time. So that's why I suggest lunch hour. It's like 45 minutes, doesn't have to be a full hour. And the other way is to monitor the time, because there will be people who can take the whole 45 minutes. Leaders, just by them being leaders or even coaches, will have the tendency to, oh, I'll start by myself, and then they take 15 minutes. So someone has to be a timer. And I think these two would be easy to implement and no cost, especially in virtual or even non-virtual space. Ask people to bring their lunch, and it will create some sense of, I'd say, vulnerability, but without oversharing. This is also critical. We live in a time now where vulnerability is equated to oversharing, and that doesn't make people feel comfortable either. It is just the normal life without telling me about all the details that happened in your life yesterday.
But it's just to get the connection, to get the support, so that people know they're supported and valued.
Yes, and that creates a mindset. That creates a culture that will be more supportive, because people now, feel okay reaching out if something is not working.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm afraid of telling the boss because he will fire me.
Yeah.
But if he admit that, listen, guys, this didn't work out,
yeah.
And I would like your input.
Yeah.
That's a mindset. That's a growth mindset.
Yeah.
And it trickles down. But people will imitate what you do.
Yes.
This is hands down the biggest lesson you see. The leader sets unconsciously or subconsciously the tone for everything else.
Yeah. And that's a really good idea. I haven't thought about that. There's a lot of things that I advise my clients to do, and I do advise that the leader does it himself, because if you're not showing the example, no one's going to follow it. But that's a really interesting idea. I think that would be great. And how can we take this further? So I'm very much in the professional context always, but also in our own life, to try and build resilience, to try and get more positive focus, to try and stay objective rather than, going off into some negative panic, whatever. How can we try and use this for all of those as well?
By not trying. That is actually the secret.
Shut me up.
That is the best thing you said. I was looking for the right word, and it is trying. The more we try, what we resist persist.
Yeah.
If I told you now, Anna, don't think about the chocolate cake with strawberry at the top and flakes of chocolate everywhere.
What am I going to think about? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is the power of mindfulness. Yeah. So I will tell people, if instead of trying to push things away, accept them, not necessarily, or I would say, I know the term acceptance is rough and it's easier said than done. So I would say coexist with them, because what if I don't want to accept my illness?
Yeah.
But you will learn how to coexist with this. So I would say in this, the first thing you do in the morning is 5 or 10 minutes of mindfulness meditation. Even if you don't feel like it, sit with it. And the idea is not denying anything in your life. And I'll give you the metaphor. We all are on our ships. Every one of us have the ships, and we are sailing in our oceans. Yeah. And sometimes the weather is really rough, and the boat will start tumbling, or the ship will start tumbling, and you're really focused just to survive, and you are scared. But then at certain moments, things get a little bit better. In that moment, just drop down the surface where there is 30 feet, where there is nothing but silence, quietness. A minute or two, you are not denying the fact that your ship is still struggling, and you will come up and you will fight again. But you need to energize yourself. And this is something that will cost you no money, almost no time. When people tell me I don't have 5 or 10 minutes to do this, tell them, think again.
Yes.
Think again. You can even do it when you're walking to the grocery store, when you're walking to work. It's just the idea of being mindful. And it's like building a muscle. That will give you more resilience. And how does it work? It's by us becoming less reactive and more responsive.
Yes.
So it's this reaction right away. It becomes less and less, but we'll respond, but not on the spot. And I think this is one of the most underutilized tools. There are over 150 randomized controlled trials about the effect of mindfulness-based stress reduction, MBSR, or other modalities of mindfulness on an anxiety, on depression, I was surprised on PTSD. And I was very, very surprised because PTSD, I thought you will sit down and all these things will come to you.
Yeah.
But apparently it wasn't the case. There were two good trials, I believe in one of the JAMA journals, which is one of the top tier journals in medicine. And I can't remember if it was JAMA Psychiatry or JAMA itself. If someone can let me know, I'll be grateful. That was a few years ago. And you can do it anywhere. You can even have a mindful meal.
Yes.
And do not try. Some people try to say, oh, I'm doing this because I want to be focused. Yeah. The more you try to do it for something, the less it becomes beneficial.
Yes. Yeah.
And just letting go, because you don't want to go down the surface 30 feet and all what you're thinking about is the ship at the top.
Yeah.
Because trust me, it is there.
Yes.
It is there. There is no, it's reality. Reality is there, and you have whatever that is. In fact, MBSR, when was started in 1978, 1979 time by John Kabat-Zinn, who's now, he's now emeritus professor at University of Massachusetts, he was dealing with people with terminal illness.
Yeah.
So these people were, like, there is no way you can deny this, like terminal cancer, terminal paralysis. But the effect of the mindfulness was amazing that they finally coexisted.
Yes.
And I think for leaders, the same. Your company will have troubles, especially post-COVID.
Yeah.
Actually, some people more than COVID, because now no stimulus.
Yes.
Competition is back. People had more time to listen to your podcast. Now it is less time.
Yeah.
So it is, and it's now the time to say, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'll do my best, but the mindfulness thing really, and some companies do it as a group.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm. They start the meeting. The tricky thing though, how, especially in virtual world, some people will join 5 minutes later.
Oh, yes.
It's, there is meditation. Yeah. So do it midway through.
Yes.
Or, that will help, because near the end, everyone wants to rush.
Yeah.
So something where, why we just take a break? And you will see the second half of the conversation is much richer.
Yes.
It will give the mind time to percolate the ideas.
Yeah.
And then, okay, now we can move forward.
That's a great idea. That is such a good idea. I've never heard that. And all of the companies I work with, I don't know any of them that do anything like that. Excellent.
I'm glad that this is new. It's and it's evidence-based. That is the best thing. I have to say, not everything need to be evidence-based. I'll be clear here, because sometimes, at least in the business world, there is empirical evidence of things work, and it is hard to do randomized controlled trials in business world. But at least the things we have in medical field that we have seen working, it can really extend easily to the corporate world and benefit at the neuronal level.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So, any final piece of wisdom, because we've already talked and covered a lot, so just to end up, any final piece of wisdom or key strategy that you think we should keep in mind to help us going forward?
Take a deep breath before you take a decision or say something that might hurt the career, especially in a feedback session where it is very ego bruising and many times it's unfair. So just take this deep breath. It doesn't mean you will stop yourself. It will just help you reorganize your thoughts, and you will never be penalized for one deep breath. The second, incorporate 5 to 10 minutes of mindfulness-based stress reduction in your meeting or in your life. If you are not the person who would like to do it on your own and, oh, I don't have time, I'm lazy, fine, let's do it as a group.
Yes.
And 5 to 10 minutes a day, as little as you might think it is, it's actually has been shown to be enough. I can tell you about studies, but that's would not be in a summary session. And the last thing is take care of yourself as a leader, not in a selfish way, because some people can take it to the extreme, but in a way where people will imitate you. Because as a manager, people usually, you not realize it, but people will say, oh, how's her mood today? Is she's okay? She's not in a good mood. So let me avoid her. And they overinterpret, we all overinterpret things because there is the manager. Oh, is that a good time? Or you go to ask the secretary, oh, what is the weather like today? And and then if you want to have people to approach you directly and not leave your company, because now we live in the great resignation time. I think taking care of yourself and would reflect back on taking care of the people around you.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. That's great advice. Thank you so much for all of that. Mohamed, where can people find you and how can they get in touch with you to find out more about what you do, more advice?
Thank you for offering me this opportunity. So the website is Dr. like doctor, and then Soliman, my last name, SOLIMAN.com. I have presence on Instagram, TikTok recently, and YouTube, where I interview experts, especially TED speakers, best-selling authors, and I learn from their wisdom. And so far, it has been a great journey because listening to them, and I hope whoever will listen to them as well will learn a lot. I myself learned a lot about not only coaching, but about management of people, which is the hardest thing. It's the biggest asset. By the way, do not work for a company that considers machines as assets and employees as liability.
It's not good.
Yes. And you will see it in the accounting. It's like machines are assets and people are liability. Be careful.
Okay. Thank you. So, everybody, please go and have a look at Mohamed's website and watch his YouTube because you'll find it really, really interesting. And I know you're particularly present in the USA, right? But you're coming more towards the UK to Europe. So anyone, I know I'm in the UK, obviously, and most of my clients are in Europe. So just saying to all of you, particularly do go onto his website, do go and see everything he does, watch his videos, because he's spreading out. So you've got a great opportunity to learn more and find out more. So Mohamed, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. And thank you for all the great advice.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for the connection to the UK people. As you said, I'm really interested in getting more and more into especially the UK. And I had 2 guests from the UK so far. One of them, and I hope we'll have more. It will be really, really lovely to connect with more people.
Definitely. We all have different mindset, different culture, so it makes it more interesting.
Appreciate it, Anna.
Lovely. Everybody, you've been listening to Dr. Mohamed Soliman. We will see you again next week as always. Have a lovely week and see you all again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.